Do you condemn Hamas for what they did on October the 7th? What are you talking
I'm not
about?
going to sit here and condemn Hamas.
The precipitated
Hang on, look.
Do you think October 6th,
if you can't condemn anything Hamas has done, why can't you answer a simple question?
Grace and peace, everybody. We're back. And tonight, we're just going to look at a very quick segment from Piers Morgan. And it's just, I think it encapsulates the frustration when people refuse to actually look at an observable reality and call strikes and balls, call it right down the middle like they should. And you kind of got a feeling for where this is going to go. So let's bring it in and let's talk about it. Let's go.
Joined by the American-Israeli commentator Emily Schrader and the journalist and filmmaker Abby Martin. Well, welcome to both of you. There is a internationally recognized 5-point guide.
For some reason or another, the facial expressions of these women already tell you how this is going to go. You already know the woman on the far right with the black jacket. You know how this is going to go. The woman in the peach-colored jacket on the right, you know where this is going to go. You already know. You can see on the face. I'm just glad they're not in the same room.
To what is genocide. It says killing members of the group, causing serious bodily or mental harm to members of the group, deliberately inflicting on the group conditions of life calculated to bring about its physical destruction in whole or part, imposing measures intended to prevent births within the group, forcibly transferring children of the group to another group. By that definition,
y'all need to be outside of Planned Parenthood. I'm just saying. Following that definition that Piers Morgan just read right there, Planned Parenthood should be brought up on every kind of charge possible. I'm just saying.
Do you believe that what's happened in Gaza constitutes genocide? I think that they have become increasingly vocal in their desire to cause maximum damage to Israel and to Jewish people. They've said since October the 7th through their official spokesman that they will do this again and again and again. That actually is genocidal rhetoric. If you're pledging to destroy a people in as many numbers as you can, as often as you can, that is a form of genocide, isn't it?
Look, what precipitated even the origin of Hamas? Hamas didn't just grow out of thin air. I mean, it was precipitated by
but what about my question, though?
Decades of brutal occupation and ethnic cleansing.
Yeah, but what about my question?
The question whether or not Hamas is genocidal in its intent, I disagree. And Emily's saying, look, Hamas is reacting. They're an armed resistance group trying to fight for their liberation.
I'm not justifying anything that they've done.
The United States also called Nelson Mandela and the ANC a terrorist organization.
I
think they're an armed resistance group trying to fight for the liberation of Palestine.
Do you think they're a terrorist organization?
I'm not going to sit here and give an obligatory... Do you think Israel's a terrorist organization,
Of course
Emily?
not.
Do you think Israel's a terrorist organization?
Well, can you answer my question? Do
yeah,
you
let's
think
agree to
Hamas is a terrorist organization?
I already did. Let me explain something to you.
Do you think that the acts committed on October 7th were legitimate? You think that gang rape, that
do you think
mass
that the
rape,
acts that Israel did that precipitated
October
7th?
Hang on, look.
Do you think October 6th, 5th, 4th, 8th,
let me ask you the question which has made me infamous, famous, whatever you want to do. But do you condemn Hamas for what they did on October the 7th?
I'm not going to sit here and give an obligatory condemnation of Hamas.
It was a terrorist attack of appalling magnitude.
Of what I think.
Surely on pure humanity grounds.
Piers, listen.
You cannot watch the devastating murder of 1,200 people and not say it was a despicable terror act and condemn the people who did it.
Look, listen, I'm not going to give an obligatory condemnation of Hamas. What I will do is condemn the policies that precipitate violence. What I will do is condemn the roots of the violence, because inevitably you will have blowback when you deny millions of people basic human rights, when they're living under brutal medieval siege and barbaric military occupation, a fascist military occupation in the West Bank. Hamas doesn't govern the West Bank. Look at what Israel has done in the West Bank since October 7th.
You can't condemn Hamas for what they did on October the 7th.
This is not about Hamas.
Well, it's all about Hamas.
I condemn what will beget violence inevitably.
What are you talking
I'm not
about?
going to sit here and condemn Hamas.
The entire war.
I'm sorry?
This entire war has been because of what Hamas did on October the 7th. You could go back in history.
Not.
You can go back in history
Piers.
and you can find arguments on both sides in the last 70 years. Right, I've had the arguments many times.
No, because
you cannot
see,
dispute
what you're doing is...
What am I doing?
What you're doing is conflating and pretending like there are two equal sides. Oh, they've just been fighting for decades. There's always reasons on both sides to start the violence. No, that's not true. There's one side that's an occupying, colonizing force that continuously and violently expels and subjugates and brutalizes and terrorizes the other side. They are living under the boot of Israeli authorities, whether you're in Gaza and occupied completely militarily by the outside, or whether you're living under a fascist military dictatorship in the West Bank.
So if you believe,
violence.
Okay,
that is the root of the violence. This is 75 years of ethnic cleansing and apartheid.
All right, I hear you. Let me ask you this. If you believe then that Hamas are a armed resistance, as you put it, and they have, presumably then you believe what they did on October the 7th was justified, do you?
I didn't say that. No, absolutely
well,
not.
Wouldn't that be
I'm not sitting here justifying anything.
Isn't the logical extension of your argument, if you believe they're an armed resistance and they are they are doing what they're doing because they are responding to acts of terror by another side, surely you would say that what they did was justified. Or if it's not justified, what is it?
Okay, and I think Piers has got her over a barrel. The young lady in the pink is just enjoying this because she's watching this woman squirm. And it's pretty bad. And I wanted to point this out simply because we have to be willing to be honest about our position. You can say, hey, I support this team, but they've done something foul in this regard, or they were wrong here. It's perfectly fine to say that. And still, both things can be true. This woman is trying to hold so tight to one thing being true that she's denying the observable reality, and she looks like this. So let's just let her finish up.
You either condemn it or you think it's justified. I don't think you can sit in the middle, can you?
Look, I don't need to sit here and give a condemnation of Hamas. I can explain why Hamas exists. I don't have to support what they did. I don't have to justify or rationalize it.
Yes, so violence in the face of rape
as a person who studies history
is complicity.
You can sit as a person who studies history, Emily, you're doing the exact same thing and you're projecting it on me. Okay, so do you condemn the actions of Israel for killing 13,000 children?
I don't accept that 13,000 children have been killed. That hasn't
okay,
anything that's been verified.
This is the problem.
But it depends on the context of what's happening. Do I condemn certain actions of the state of Israel?
Palestinians their reality.
Do I?
The young lady in the pink, she's at least willing to say, hey, I condemn certain actions. Now she's saying, hey, I call bupkis on the 13,000 kids argument. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not. But it seems like, just from my observation, if you showed her bona fide evidence that this happened and that 13,000 children were deleted, that she would say they were wrong for doing that. I think she'd do that. The other woman is just going to completely fumble the ball. Look, watch this.
I think Israel is always right.
You're denying Palestinians their reality. This is why Palestinians have to show their dead kids on camera.
Do I think everything Israel has done, even in this war, is correct? No. There's no problem with saying that.
What has been wrong? What have they done?
I already said the same thing about Hamas.
Hang on, Abby.
I already said the same thing about Hamas.
Emily, tell me what Israel's done that's wrong in your eyes.
I think that should have been a priority from the beginning in order to plan a safe evacuation route before they implemented a military plan. I think that everything has been done too late.
Okay. Abby, what would you say Hamas have done wrong?
Again, I'm not going to sit up here. I don't even know really what happened.
You can't find anything.
How hard is it to condemn rape?
You can't find anything to say they did
all
wrong?
of the lies that have been perpetrated. Look, Hamas killing civilians, I'm sure atrocities were committed on both sides on October 7th.
On October 7th, atrocities were committed.
I don't know,
what atrocities did
how
Israel
many
commit
civilians
on October 7th?
were killed by Israel. Emily, I can't even hear myself talk because you just can't stop talking.
Let Abby speak.
There's so many lies that were put out by Israeli authorities that it's really hard to parse through. Look, I mean, we don't know how many civilians were killed in the crossfire by Israeli soldiers enlisting the Hannibal Directive. So, look, the mass rape, the beheaded babies, the ripping the babies out of pregnant women's stomachs. I mean, all of these things are such egregious lies that I really just can't sit up here and condemn things that I don't even know what happened.
What about the atrocities which Hamas recorded and filmed them?
Okay, I do want to point out something. I think this is interesting. The woman on the left wants evidence about these atrocities. She's saying she doesn't believe that they happened, but she didn't give that same respect to the woman in the pink on the right when she said she didn't believe that 13,000 children have been deleted. So I just think that that's very interesting. She can hold her position and say, hey, I need you to give me evidence, but she's not okay with this woman saying, hey, You can hold this position, but I need to see evidence. Trust but verify. Let's go.
Themselves and then posted to the world to brazenly boast about what they were doing. What about that?
Look, nothing that Hamas did on October 7th compares to what Israel has done in response.
No, I'm asking you a direct question about the fact that they boasted about the mass murder they were committing.
You guys just make it all about October 7th, and that's what I'm saying. It all pales in comparison, Piers.
But if you can't condemn anything Hamas has done,
that happened, I already said.
You haven't condemned them.
Killing civilians is wrong.
So what
Killing
they did,
civilians is wrong.
So what Hamas did on October 7th was wrong.
So what does that make what Israel has done?
Hang on, I'm trying to unpick your argument. So if it's wrong to kill civilians, were Hamas wrong to do what they did on October the 7th, given how many civilians were brutally murdered?
Are you doing the same thing to Emily? And if not,
just asking, do you think it was wrong?
Why are you not sitting her
do you
and
think
picking
it was
apart,
wrong?
Is it wrong to kill 13,000
Why
children?
can't you answer a
is
simple question?
Is it wrong to kill 100? I already said it. I already said it, Piers.
Was it wrong?
I'm not going to sit here. You're basically comparing Hamas to Israel.
No, I'm not comparing anything.
And that's
you
really
said just now,
yes,
unless I'm mistaken, you just said to me that the killing of innocent civilians is wrong. I then asked you, fairly self-evidently, I think, the question, that in that case, given that Hamas showed us on tape them killing civilians, innocent civilians, on October the 7th, do you accept that was wrong? Yes or no?
You saw the tape?
Yeah, they showed us.
You saw the tape of them killing innocent civilians?
Yes, they literally broadcast it to the world. Yes, we all did.
And so do Israeli soldiers.
Fine, why can't you forget Israel for a moment?
It's like watching...
Forget Israel for a moment.
It's like watching Nazis.
If it's wrong to kill innocent civilians, Abby...
On social media.
If it's wrong to kill innocent civilians, I'll ask you one more time. You haven't got to answer, up to you. But viewers are watching this and they know you haven't answered. You think it's wrong to kill innocent civilians?
I already answered. I think it's wrong to kill innocent civilians.
So what Hamas did was wrong?
I'm not going to answer.
Well, let her answer if she wants to. Last time, I'm going to ask it. So.
I don't. I already told you I'm not going to sit here and condemn what Hamas did.
Right.
I understand why. I don't have to agree with what Hamas did, right?
I think that's interesting, and I wanted to bring it back up and just... and I enjoy this type of back and forth. Y'all know I enjoy this kind of conversation. And I thought this was good. Kudos to Piers Morgan. He doesn't always bat the ball out the park, but this time I think he did a good job. At least got like a base hit. I don't know if he hit the ball at the park, but base hit nonetheless. I do think he could have asked the woman, hey, is it wrong for Israel to have deleted civilians? She would have said yes. I said, well, then now just move the word Israel and insert Hamas and then let her squirm. Because I don't think she made the attempt to answer that. And I think the real problem is that when you're locked in ideologically and you refuse to look objectively at reality, this is what you look like. We see this in the discussion about whether or not Black people can be racist. We see this in so many other instances that people want to hold to one truth and they don't believe that, then don't realize that two things can be true. You could be wrong and still do something. I apologize. You could be right and do something that is wrong, and that could be true. You could be righteous in your efforts, but wrong in your execution. That's true. So we can look at things and be objective, and we should be objective. And this is where I think this young lady really dropped the ball. But let me know what you think down in the comments below. I really do appreciate you all rocking with us. Thank you for liking the video. It really does help the channel grow and get this message out. And then also thank you so much for subscribing. It definitely helps me hit our goal of 50,000 subscribers because we're going to be celebrating that real soon. Looking forward to doing that with you all. So until then, grace and peace, everybody.